Okay, welcome back Year 8. This is your second video lesson. This one's going to focus on fraction operations, that is plus, take away, multiply and divide with fractions. Okay, so here's a few questions I've just prepared. Now this first one here, nice and easy. When you're adding or subtracting, if the number on the bottom is the same, you can just keep it the same, which does make it a lot easier. So then when we just do this 3 plus 1, 4, boom, done. Okay. Second question, exactly the same idea with subtract. Number on the bottom is the same. We get to keep it the same. And then do 5 subtract 2. Okay, so that's the only difference there. Rather than adding those two top numbers or numerators, we're subtracting. Okay. Question 3, this is where it starts to get a bit tricky because obviously you can see the denominators are not the same. Denominators, by the way, just a fancy way of saying the bottom numbers. Okay. So we're going to look for how to make these the same. So straight away, I'm going to write out little boxes that I'm going to fill in with these two, but what's equivalent to those two, but with the same number on the bottom. We're still going to add them together. So we've got to think of a number that 5 and 3 both go into. Now, some of you might have already thought of that. If so, chuck it in right away. If not, let's just write down our 5s and our 3 times table just up here. So I'm just going to start with a few. If I don't find it, I can write a few more, but voila. 15 is, again, another fancy word, the lowest common multiple. Okay, that's what we're after, the lowest common multiple of 5 and 3, the lowest number that 5 and 3 go into. Okay, so to get from here to here, we times by 3. So we're going to do exactly the same with that one. 1 times 3 is 3. Over here, to get from 3 to 15, we times by 5. So do the same with the top, the numerator, times by 5, and we've got 10. We now have 3 fifteenths plus 10 fifteenths. So we've got a question just like these ones up here, where the denominator now is the same, the bottom number is the same. So we've done all that effort to making it the same. Let's keep it the same. And then just do 3 plus 10. Subtraction, if you've got different denominators, you do the same sort of thing, but obviously with the top numbers, subtract. Okay? Right, next bit, we're going to go on to multiplication. Now this is most people's favourite because it's sort of the easiest sort of trick to do. 3 times 2, top times top is the top, bottom times bottom is the bottom. And that's it, done. Now I've put another multiplication here just so you can realise there's sometimes a little bit more that you need to do. Top times top, bottom times bottom. Now, this is correct, but it's not in the simplified form or the most simplified form. So we are going to try and simplify this. You might see, oh look, they're both in the 4s and go straight away to the final answer, but I'm going to pretend we didn't see that. Let's say we just saw it was both in the 2s. We're going to divide top and bottom by 2, giving us 10 over 28. We're then going to see that's still in the 2s, so we're going to divide them both by 2. And we're left with 5 over 14. And now that, the only thing that goes into 5 and 14 is 1. And divided by 1, that's not going to help us here. So, done. Okay. This one here, division. Okay. Now, lots of different people remember this different ways. It's a bit my super cool way of doing it is to think of KFC. Apart from instead of KFC, it's KCF. So I'm going to put the K there, the C there, and the F there. And for those of you that don't know, that means keep, change, flip. Yeah, that's the action. Okay. So we keep 3/5 just as it is, so we keep the 3/5. You change the divide to its inverse, multiply, and we flip this last one. Okay, it's basically saying that dividing by 6/7 is the same as timesing by 7/6. Okay, and then once you got to that, it's just as easy as the questions above. Top times top, boom. Bottom times bottom. If you couldn't simplify, then that's your answer, done and dusted. But you can simplify. They're both actually in the 3 times table. So you divide them both by 3, and you end up with 7/10. Voila. Okay. Last question. All right, an extension question here. As you can see, I've chucked in some mixed fractions. And with add and subtract, you've got a choice. With multiply and divide, you do not have a choice. You do need to get rid of those mixed fractions, although I suggest that you just turn mixed fractions into improper for add, minus, times, divide. At least then you know that's sort of like your method, and it's less easy to get confused. So straight away we need to turn these into improper. If you're not sure about doing that, there's a trick, which is to do this number here, okay, times by the denominator and add the numerator. Stick it on the top of the fraction, and then whatever the denominator is, it will always stay as the denominator. Okay? That's the trick. To get a bit of understanding behind it, let's have a think. Well, we know we're dealing with something fifths, so we know this is going to be fifths. How many fifths are we going to get in 3 wholes? Well, 5/5 is 1. So 10/5 is going to make 2. So 15/5 is going to be 3. So that there is 15/5. You've then got those 2/5 as well, giving us 17/5. Keep the divide as it is. Over here, we're dealing with 8. We know that means 8 is going to be on the bottom. Okay, denominator will stay the same when you're going from mixed to improper, or improper to mixed indeed. This 1 is going to be worth 8/8. So if we've got 8/8 and 5 more 8s, then we're dealing with 13/8. Okay, and suddenly now, as much as it's quite nasty because you've got some quite big numbers on there, that is a lot nicer looking than this here. We're then going to do keep, change, flip, giving us keep 17/5, change the divide to a times, a multiply there, flip